You're wanting to start epoxy resin and think it's a bit difficult. Let me show you how easy it can be with a Resin starter kit. I've already taken the contents out of this box and started to have a look at them. So join me, we'll have a play. I'm also going to make at the end of this video an octopus with the Resin mould, and I've also got some Resin chrome powders to play with and whatever else came in this box. So thank you to Resin for sponsoring this video. Let's see what we can do with your stuff. Right. Here's the instructions. I've already got the resin out. It's come in 2 plastic bags. You've got a part B, part A. As I said, it's a 1-to-1, so it's nice and easy. Tells you all your safety stuff. The only thing I would add to this is it mentions wearing gloves and goggles. I would also wear a respirator. Now this resin is VOC free and all that sort of thing, so it's pretty safe on its own. However, you know what we're like, we'll start putting things in it and some of those will be safe, some might not, who knows. Don't take any risks, do wear a respirator as well. So there's all your safety stuff. It tells you about the resin in here. Super clear, 1-to-1, that makes it so much easier. I'm not very good at measuring, so I'll just put a cup of each, mix them together and do it that way. Although they have sent a lovely measuring jug. I'll show you what was in the box in a minute. Work time, you've got 40 to 50 minutes. Obviously, if it's a really hot day, which it is here at the moment, it'll be towards the shorter end of that. But that does mean you've got plenty of work times to play with it. Recommended temperatures for working in. That's around the normal temperature range in the UK, I would say. Demold time, 8 to 24 hours. Yes, very much depending on the size of the project and also the heat in your room. You'll need to leave it for 2 or 3 days to get completely 100% cured. Heat resistance is good, so it's suitable for coasters. Maximum of a single pour. So don't pour more than 400 millilitres. Now some resins will say a depth for your maximum pour. This one actually goes by volume, and that is because it's the chunkiness rather than the actual depth of a pour that dictates what resin you use. So anything over that, you'd go for a deep pour resin, because it's not the depth, it's the volume. Because I think we've probably all got tall, thin moulds that the volume isn't that great and they're okay with a normal resin. So what they're doing here is working in millilitres rather than in actual just depth, if that makes sense. Loads of tips. Cold weather resin tips. They do warming kits for resin as well, which is very good. Loads of tips and frequently asked questions, and nothing to explain what half of the things in the box are. Let's see if it tells me on the box, because I'm going to show you in a moment. No. Loads of safety stuff, first aid, all that sort of thing. Doesn't tell me what else comes in the box. Tells you a bit about Resin. That's nice. Hey, don't know what half the stuff is here. Let me show you. First of all, this I do know. These are some little measuring little cups for doing tiny, delicate little pours with. These are great. I've always got a load of these in stock, and there's a little pile of them there. There's the resin, of course, and the kit came with a 1.2 litres of each. So overall, that's a 2.4 litre kit. It came with a spready, scrapey thing. Don't know what that's for, but it looks useful, doesn't it? I've got various, I think these are plastic table protecting sheets. Comes with a pair of gloves, which I've already got my gloves on, so I won't worry about those. It also, really helpfully, came with a stirry thing. This is really nice. This is a bendy silicone-coated stirrer. Might be silicone all through, I don't know, but the resin picks up off this, so it's really easy to keep clean. You've also got this little bag of beautiful mica powders. Now, I'm not going to be necessarily using those on the first one because I've got some of their chrome powders, these that I want to play with as well. So that, I think you'll agree, is that everything? I think that is a very comprehensive little kit to get anyone started. As in, let's say the only thing I would add is probably a respirator to be on the safe side. Let's get stuck in. I'm going to make a couple of these little octopuses. Now, I've never made these before. I don't know why. I've had this mould for a while. It is a Resin one. So let's see how we get on. Oh, that was the other thing they sent. Look at this measuring jug. It goes up to 600 millilitres. That's 20 fluid ounces. It's silicone, so it's going to be easy to keep clean. You'll just let the resin cure and just pick it off. But I think you could flip it inside and clean it if you wanted to, but it's quite a sturdy silicone. I think that's really good. Now, I will be using that today. In fact, I'll be using most of this one way or another, I think. So first of all then, let's have a look at our chrome powders. These are also from Let's Resin. They very kindly sent me these, and I've bought myself a set. So when they sent me these, I've ended up with 2 sets, which is fantastic, because I am going to be using a lot of these. The other thing that came in the kit with those is one of these lovely little, it's like an eyeshadow brush, but it's just a really nice one for doing this with. So for anybody who's not seen the how to do the chrome effect on your resin pieces, it really is as simple as this. We get a little bit of the powder and we brush it into the areas that we want. So with this little guy, I want to do this fabulous sapphire blue. Oops. I'm going to be blending it down through his eyes, because I'm going to do things with his eyes afterwards. I'm not going to try and stick plastic eyes in there or anything like that. Just going to keep going with the powders. We can put details in afterwards. Then what I'm going to do with the second one, so I'm going to make 2 of these, is show you what the powders that they send, what those look like. I'm trying to get in here. You can sort of turn this mould inside out, but I reckon it's quite easy to get around with your powder, just like this anyway, without having to do that. Now, what I'm going to do is try and fade this blue out into the top of his legs. So we're just burnishing it in. It will stick to the silicone because this is a nice silicone. Most glossy moulds you will find that the powders will stick to. Matte ones, not so much so. Same can be said for any mica powder or metallic powder or chameleon powder or whatever. They do vary. I have actually got a couple of cheaper moulds that the powders just do not stick to, full stop. And I don't know why. It's something to do with the type of silicone, I think. So what I'm doing is just fading it a little bit. I'm going to go like so. Don't want a sudden colour divide, you see, that's what I'm after. And I want it to go a little bit down the centre of his tentacles. Octopuses are amazing creatures. That one I've gone a bit too far, but that's okay, it doesn't matter. I actually follow an octopus on YouTube. I know that sounds a bit strange, but I do. The little creature is quite fascinating. I'll put you a link for him in the video description below. It's a pet one. But it actually comes out of the tank and goes for a walk around his aquarium room with him. It climbs out onto his shoulder and things. It's the most strange thing you've ever seen. But wonderful. It welcomes him home. It's more like having a puppy or just an aquatic one. And it can open jars. It can do all sorts of clever things. He puts treats for it in jars, and so that it's got and he gives it little challenges, because they're quite intelligent creatures. And it's really funny watching how the little critter works out things and then reaches in and gets its treat. It's really funny. It gives it some sort of entertainment. Exercising its little brain, giving it a challenge. Right, I am going to clean up a little bit, because I think I have probably put a bit more than I intended in a couple of those tentacles. And as I'm still working in the kitchen because it's too hot upstairs, I haven't got my Wonder Wipes down here with me. So I'm just going to use a little bit of my Wonder Wipe spray on a bit of tissue. And this is quite easy to do. You can just buff it away with a damp tissue with your wipes. Or whatever cleaning stuff you're using. Alcohol works. Well, don't use too much alcohol, because it might not long term do your moulds a lot of good. Well, there we are. And I've tried to get it to blend a bit rather than suddenly end, but whether that'll work, I don't know. We'll see. Right, the other colour. This one's just called blue. What was the first one called? Royal blue. That's it. I call it sapphire, but it's royal blue. Now, this one's just called blue, but to me it looks more of like an aqua greeny blue. See what I mean? It's more, I don't know, teal? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to cover now the whole thing. That's all that's left with this. So I'm just going round now. I think I used a bit too much powder. I'm going to have a load of surplus come up to the surface. But I'm just making sure I haven't missed any bits and that it's all burnished really well onto the silicone. I think we're good to go. Easy to clean the mould afterwards, by the way. Just go around it with a bit of sticky tape and it will fetch off all this surplus powder quite easily. If you want to, you could shake the surplus powder back into your pot, like so, which would make sense. I'll probably end up with a mixed pot at some point that's a bit of leftover from everything. However, this one, we are just going to pour it straight in. I don't know how much resin this uses, but shall we try our new pot? First of all, we need to open these up. There's always one of these little stoppers in the top, so we take that out. It's worth putting it back in, by the way, because it does stop the resin sort of rising up the sides somehow. I don't know how resin does that, but just make sure you put the right one on the right bottle when you put them back together. Now, we're going to measure a little bit of each. Now, there are measuring doodies on the side, but I don't think we need that much. I don't know, let's see. I'm not sure how much this little mould takes, but let's go for, what have we got? If I just go for 100 millilitres, I bet that'll do it. So 50 of each, maybe, I don't know. It's just not that big, is it? Another little tip for you, always wipe your sides of your bottles off afterwards. I've got some pumps that I might put on these at some point to make life a bit easier, but it's just to stop your bottle getting all horrible and messy. So this is medium viscosity resin, pretty straightforward to use because it is a one-to-one. Nice reliable one actually. I haven't used it for a while, but I know it was very good when I used it previously. So we're going to mix this up. Now, a tip for you, stir really slowly. Now, I'm a devil for stirring too fast and ending up with a load of bubbles. Now, I have got the Let Resin debubbler, but I typically find I don't really need it. And we definitely won't need it with this one. When you're using a good quality resin, generally bubbles aren't too much of an issue, unless you're doing a very big piece like a pyramid. And in that case, I suggest you do look up the Let Resin debubbler, because I'm finding it by far the best of all the ones I've tried so far for bigger amounts and for a nice big pot like this. It's a good size. You can get a lot debubbling away in that. So as you can see, I'm stirring way too fast and I've got a load of balls, but watch what happens. Can you see them all coming out? And because this is also going to be behind a solid colour, and we're going to be dyeing it black, this is the Let Resin black pigment, and it's a pigment paste, so you don't need an awful lot to make it really opaque. Then you're not going to see any bubbles anyway, so I wouldn't stress too much over bubbles when you're making this sort of thing. It's just when you're making something big and it's got to be absolutely clear, that's when your debubbler machine might come in handy. Of course, you can spray the surface with alcohol. You can run a long neck lighter over at the back of it. There's all sorts of things you can do to reduce bubbles. But for this sort of make, it really isn't going to matter. So I'm going to carry on stirring just for a bit longer, making sure I get right down into the corners. And then I'm going to let it just stand for a minute, because any bubbles that are in there will probably dissipate anyway. Because, as I said, it's a nice resin. Now, as you can see, that is fairly opaque black. Most of the bubbles have dissipated. I'm going to not worry too much about this because the rest will dissipate when they're in the mould. And also, it won't matter because you won't see any that are left anyway. But you'll probably find the bubbles are just clear on their own. It does degas very well. Looks like I might have guessed this about right. 100 millilitres then, folks, is slightly too much, if anything. Well, that's handy, isn't it? And you'll see that surplus chrome powder is actually just working its way up to the surface, so you'll end up with a funny back. But can you see the bubbles popping in here? It's just doing it on its own. Now, there's one area here that I know, because it mould curves round like that, the bubbles might get stuck. So I'm just going to give that a little squishy tappy thing there like that, just to make sure. And I think we can take a little bit more. I'm going to find a spare mould to put the rest of this in as well, because we don't waste our resin, do we now? I know what I've got. There's a little mould I made earlier with some of that resin, some of that silicone putty. Should we put a bit in him? I think we'll get a little bit more in this guy soon as well. If you want to see a video on mould making, I'll put the link in the video description for you, but I have got a whole playlist on mould making if you're interested. Because I made this and then I made up some more moulds using the Let Resin silicone rubber, which is the liquid silicone rubber that I've always used. It's just awesome. This resin is already thickening up. You can tell how warm it is here today. Oh, we're in the middle of a proper heat wave in the UK. It's all good fun. Right, where can I tip the last bit? I know. I've got a little jewellery mould here. This is just a cheap thing. Let's chuck it in here. Because you can never have too many blanks to decorate, can you? Great for experimenting with. And also, I sometimes put a little pack of things like this into my packages when people order from my shop, because I like to see what they might do with the blanks. This is where those little tiny pouring pots would have come in handy, isn't it? There we go. I think I've used up all my surplus resin. We've got a few things on the go over here. Let me just move you across so you can see. I've just tipped a bit into all sorts. I'm going to leave this last little bit in the pot. There's not a lot, as you can see. That's just so as I can show you how easy it is to clean your pot out afterwards. So I'll leave that there. Right, we're going to leave this for a while to cure. You can probably see all the bubbles. Is the shine in the wrong place? The shine might be in the wrong place. That's better. You can probably see all the little bubbles popping on the surface of this, and that is why I didn't stress too much. I'm just going to tap this little bit, and there's a little bubble coming up, look. So this is what you can do, of course, is go under here and just tease out any bubbles that might be trapped. However, I don't want to disturb the chrome powder, so I'm not going to be doing much of that, if any. Just going to give it a little tap. There we are. So we're going to leave this a few hours. I think it's so hot in here it will be nearer the 8 hours that they suggest. So I'll see you in about 8 hours. And then we'll do one of these beautiful mica powders. Just drooling at that purple. We'll do the mica powders and we'll try that next. Just so you can see the way the different stuff in this kit works. Right, I'll see you later. Okay, just a quickie. When I mentioned about skimming a lighter over the surface to get rid of any surface bubbles, this is what I meant. This is a long neck lighter. Now, I use quite scary torches and all sorts, but I would say to any beginner, they are very fierce and you can end up damaging your mould. So if you do get the burning urge, no, see what I did there? Burning urge. Yeah. Anyway, if you get the burning urge to pop the bubbles on the back, one of these is probably the safest and easiest ways to do it. Right, I'll see you later. So let's demould. Let's have a look at our little extra that I did with the leftover. Still a bit bendy because it was thin. That's cute though, isn't it? Right, let's get our octopus out. I say I've not done one of these before. It is slightly bendy still, so I probably should still have my gloves on. But hey, and there we go. Let's get our little guy out. Oh, look at that. So the pen we're going to be using is a chrome marker and it's a gold one. Again, it's a Let's Resin one. And I'm going to try and colour his eyes in. Then once that's cured, we'll put a bit of detail in with some black. Right, and I've got a black acrylic pen because I think my alcohol markers have finally conked out on me. And I'm just going to go like this. Just drawing him some funny little eye centres, little pupils in. There we are. So, Let's Resin. Thank you again for the resin, for the chrome powders, the pens and everything. And don't forget, everyone, I've got a discount code for the Let's Resin products down in the video description below. But I hope I have shown you that making something that looks quite impressive with resin, with the right kind of starter kit, easy peasy. There you go. Hope that's helpful. See you for the next video, folks. Don't forget, free to subscribe, free to put likes on, free to do comments, all of which very, very much appreciated. So thank you very much to those who do. Take care all, and I'll see you for the next one.